Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
So my friend told me to post this story of mine here because you guys might like it. I hope you will. So I'm working as a night guard in a hotel in the countryside on an island of 350,000 people. So I guess it's needless to say. It's small, quiet, and nothing really happens here except creepy stuff. What you need to know about this hotel before I tell you one of my stories is that it's located in a fjord with a beautiful view over mountains and the ocean. The nearest city is about a 20-minute drive away. Until then, it's just nature, basically. A couple of farms here and there. Before this became a hotel many years ago, I think it was a school of some sort. And before that, they say it was nothing. But I remember some stories I heard that it was a hospital, which I have found very little evidence for. The weather on this island is very rough most of the time. We can have very brutal wind up to 70 meters a second. But 30 to 50 meters a second is not unusual in the wintertime. It can get very bad around. Blizzards or super thick fogs when the view range is no more than 30 meters perhaps. And yes, it is very dark in the winter. But if the clouds let us, we can have a wonderful bright summer, when the sun almost never goes down. So with these weather conditions in an old building in the countryside in the middle of the night, you can hear a lot of stuff. The wind whistling continuously, curtains slapping, plants moving, ice or rain on the windows. And of course, since it's a hotel, there are a lot of machines, like a coffee machine, ice machine, cooler and freezer. It is very scary to be here at night, and it plays games with your head. I have many experiences feeling like something is near me, or sometimes even seeing a shadow or something I can't confirm. But my adrenaline goes up, and I'm prepared like something was moving there. I have experienced a lot of paranormal things before in my life, so I have increased sensitivity for it, or I'm just going nuts. But my feelings have always been right in these situations. I always found people that could confirm them. In this hotel, this activity is very strong. There were staff members that quit for these reasons. And we also got a priest to come to us and try to cure the place, with more or less success. I don't believe in it. So to the point of the story, it was a very quiet night. Somewhere around March 2015, when we had entirely no bookings, and the hotel was totally empty. It was only me and the phone that might ring or not. Around 9 o'clock, I went upstairs where the rooms are to just check around and lock the back door that leads to the hot tubs. I found everything normal. It was bad weather, very windy, icy and dark. However, at 11 o'clock, I heard a strange noise from upstairs, so I went to check it out. I found a wooden statue in the staircase that had fallen from the window. But it's kind of a massive piece, and the windows couldn't be open, so it couldn't have been the wind. And then I heard voices talking. I stayed quiet and tried to listen. I didn't understand what they were saying, but they were talking for sure. Just to mention, break-ins and robberies have happened here before. Not many times, and not in the near past. I was not even working here when they happened, but who knows? I had to be prepared. So I followed the voice up to one of the rooms, and I clearly heard a man talking, and also noises from a shower. I was certain that somebody was there. So I went back to the reception. All the room keys were there. I called the hotel manager and asked her if she knew about anybody staying in the hotel off the books, someone I don't know about. She said no, it's supposed to be empty, so I set off to check it out. I made a voice recording on the way up the stairs, which I don't know how to post here. But it was really creepy, with strange noises I did not hear with my ears. So I went to the room, with my phone on flashlight mode, turned the lock and slammed the door in checking for anybody's presence. But there was nobody. However, the lights were off. The TV was on at max volume. A small fan was on high, and in the bathroom. The shower and the tap turned on max power and fully hot. So the entire room was covered in steam, and the air was very humid. I took a picture then of the windows to show my coworkers how wet everything was. I will attach this picture, and when I sent it over to one of my friend, his mother who is into spiritual stuff, said that she can clearly see a face in the window and very bad vibes. I turned off everything, except the fan. I let it run to try to freshen up the air a little, and I left. When the first staff member came in the morning to start preparing for a small group that was coming from breakfast that day, I told her about this, and I asked her to come back with me because I remembered there was only one thing I did not check, and that's upstairs in the room where the bed is, if we are going to find a dead body or something there. It has happened before. About 3 or 4 people have died here overnight in the past at this place. Luckily, we found nothing, and that was the end of it. I still think something was there, but who knows?
Hired security, phone in flashlight mode. Fucking hell, dude. Buy a goddamn flashlight. You're a security guard, for crying out loud. Be professional.
Nah, I'm more like a night receptionist.
Spanish boy, 15-year-old. On a school trip to England, staying in some hotel in London. Sharing a room with 2 older dudes I didn't know shit about. Also, the rooms were weird. Like most of them had a door connecting 2 rooms together, separated only by a bolt lock on both sides. They're actually cool, and we end up chatting for almost the whole night. Suddenly, bangs on the door. We're actually making a lot of noise, and it's very late, let's go to sleep. It was 4 a.m. Next night, same time. Next night, same time. We're not making any noise this time, so we brave up and open the door. No one. We explore the hallways. Nothing. Next night, no bangs. Instead, the bolt lock on the other room starts making noises like someone is trying to open it with boxing gloves. After a while, it manages to get the bolt lock open. We're all scared shitless silent. The handle turns. Shit's real. Only thing keeping us from death is our side bolt lock. Handle keeps turning to open for a solid 20 minutes. We gather courage and decide to go outside our rooms into the hallway and bang on their outside door and hopefully get them to stop. We grab our keys and close the outside door of our room. All 3 of us, in front of the door with me in front, because I'm the only one that knows how to speak English. We hit on the door. We hear the banging from our inside connecting the door stop. Heavy breathing starts behind the door. Verge of tears, throat ready to scream at whatever's behind the door. Door unlock sound, breathing stops. Nothing happens for 30 seconds to a 1 minute. I lost track of time. Suddenly, one of my mates reaches for the door handle, opens the door slowly. Other dude gets tired and just slams it open. Nothing inside. We turn on the lights and investigate from outside, dust everywhere. We notice the connecting door is open and the breathing has started again. This time comes from our door. Screw this. You, me, and me catch this dork from the connecting door. You, other guy, stay guarding the doors in case he tries to escape. Shaky legs as we go tactical on the connecting door. Breath sounds very loud and wet. Christian for 5 seconds. God protect us. We jump into the room, see other guy opening the door and exiting. I get tired of this game of cat and mouse and stomp run my way into the hallway. Other guy outside asking, why am I running? What the shit kind of prank are you pulling on us? Other guy is confused, knows nothing. I noticed I left guy behind in the room alone. Great. Enter the room with other guy, something banging on the connecting door. The heavy breathing sounds like it's coming from the ceiling. The outside door is closed. Screw all of this, says other guy. Opens the bolt lock. Guy enters from the other room and closes the bolt lock behind. Guy is covered as dust and pale. Starts shouting why we closed the room with him inside. Nobody has no clue of what's going on. Like 4:45 a.m. We spent the rest of the days of the trip not entering our room, only during the day to shower and get clean clothes. I don't think we slept during those 4 days, short naps in public places, and that's about it.
It's kind of a legend among my classmates that some weird shit was going down in a hotel in my city. I'm from Dallas, and there aren't many ghost stories here. There are some, most aren't worth mentioning, but something weird has been going on at a hotel off LBJ and Coit. It's called the Grand Hotel Dallas, look it up. I was going to Greentext, but it's really annoying, so here goes. So it's probably late April or early May 20th, 14, and my buddy and I are scouting hotels to shoot like one scene for a short. We go to the nearest hotel and it's a bust because some security guy tells us to leave. We go a little further and come up on a La Quinta and the Grand Hotel. After checking out the La Quinta, halls are cramped and some cleaning lady freaks out when she sees us taking pictures. We go over to the Grand Hotel and goddamn does it stink. Place smells like dog piss. We're walking around checking out the hallways and shit when somebody starts pounding on the door. It goes on for a couple of minutes and we try opening the door because stupid, no dice. Nobody flipped their shit, so the room was probably unoccupied. Eventually we got to a dead-end area. I think they may have been remodeling, so it was really bare. And my buddy and I started hearing footsteps behind us. Nobody we can see was behind us, so we're kind of freaking out and are debating leaving. We take a wrong turn and end up in a dark room with a really pungent odor. We eventually find a light switch and the room is stacked high with chairs and shuffleboards and that kind of old people shit. First thing we notice is the writing on the wall. My buddy has all the pictures, so I'd have to ask him, but in Sharpie someone wrote something like this. Jessica. Can't remember last name. Rest in peace, 1992 to 2014, may we never forget. By the time we noticed it, it was really creepy. We were ready to get the hell out. We're ready to get out when the lights are cut out. By this point, we're completely blind. We can't see shit, not even the light under the door. The door closed behind us. It was one of those ones that close by themselves. My buddy is fumbling his phone, but we hear this unholy screech. We don't know where it's coming from, but the best way I can describe it is that it was close and far away all at the same time, like a symphony of screeches here to the far end of the room. It was this horrific scream and nails on chalkboard blend and we're shitting ourselves. My friend gets the flashlight on and we can't see the way out, but what we can see is an inexplicable shadow cast across the floor in the light. We eventually find our way out, carefully avoiding where we think whatever would be casting the shadow is. Superstition or whatever, we weren't gonna mess with whatever was going on, and we haul ass out of there. We probably spent a couple minutes freaking out in my car. We went to the burger place next to the hotel and kinda chilled there for an hour. I went to the reviews for the place about a month later, and it looked like we weren't entirely alone. A couple people reported the place being creepy, smelling like piss, creepy town, Murderville, etc., etc. A couple of my classmates went down there to check it out after hearing our story, and reported back saying that the place was definitely Spooksville. They said they tried to look for the shadow room but couldn't find it even with our directions. So /x/ what the hell happened?
Damn, dude. There were other people in the hotel. Why didn't you ask someone what was going on, like inside? Some receptionist or shit. I hear all the time about entire haunted floors of hotels here in my city. Don't know the stories, though.
The only people we saw were a few people hanging out in the lobby and the receptionist. We didn't want to talk to the receptionist before getting anything because they were probably going to just kick us out, and it wouldn't really cross anyone's mind to interrogate a receptionist about a dead person in a state of panic. Just found this in my iPhone backups. Only picture I took at the hotels that day.
It was 2014. Me and 5 friends were on a city break vacation in a town in England. We were all about 19 years old. Pretty much as soon as we got off the train, we made a short walk to the hotel. I had heard somewhere beforehand it was possible to keep our bags in the hotel until we could check in. We walked to the front desk, and I had convinced my friend Richard to ask about the bags as I didn't want to deal with the staff. After some persistence and a bunch of annoyed looks from the woman behind the desk, she allowed us to shovel our bags into a small locked room. It was the size of a broom cupboard. With a few hours to kill, we headed to the center of town, only to purchase a stupid amount of alcohol, especially considering Richard did not drink. It was mostly cheap lager and bottles of vodka. We went back to the hotel. I attempted to act nonchalant about it, but it was pretty clear we were each carrying at least 2 bags filled with booze and snacks, despite looking even more pissed off. The woman working behind the front desk didn't make a big stink of it. She simply checked us in and acquired the key for our bags. While I waited for her to unlock the door, I noticed a strange-looking man staring blankly at an empty bulletin board. He wore a black raincoat and was wearing a hat with a brim. I stared at him from the side before he turned his head and made eye contact with me. I froze nervously as his eyes widened. I couldn't pinpoint the facial expression. It was like anger crossed with fear and a hint of confusion. After about 2 seconds, having a staring contest with this strange man. He immediately turns around and storms off into another room where the hotel kept a bar which wasn't open. We split off into pairs to go search for our rooms. Richard was with Sean, I was with Evan, and the 2 others were named David and Chalmers. We made our way to the room, which was a floor or so up. I opened the door to find a cozy-looking room with plain beige wallpaper and orange-brown sheets. 2 single beds, one next to a door on the far side of the room leading to a small bathroom. I claimed the first bed and sat down. It became clear the room was weirdly hot, much hotter than the rest of the hotel for some reason. Evan and I from then on referred to the room as the sauna. I sat on the bed and opened the bedside drawer. Inside was a Bible. I instinctively picked it up and flicked through the pages. I read some random small passages aloud, only to be counted by some smarmy remarks from Evan. Leaving the bags in the room, I left to go check out the other 2 rooms, as I was curious what they were like. Evan didn't give a damn. He just wanted to lie down and take a nap. I left the room and walked over to a window at the end of the hallway. Strangely, it didn't give me a view of the outside. It was a view of a portion of the hotel swimming pool. I was looking forward to going swimming, but this pool was seriously out of commission. There was very little water and green sludge everywhere. Richard and Sean's room had blue and white wallpaper and was much bigger. Their bathroom was huge and remarkably chilly. They had an actual bath, which is where we decided to keep the alcohol. The final room wasn't as big, but had pink wallpaper. There was no consistency to the rooms of this hotel. That night, we had a few drinks in Richard's room for a few hours, headed out afterwards to an old pub where we had a meal and participated in a pub quiz. We returned near midnight to have a few drinks at the hotel bar. It was at this point I noticed no other guests at this hotel. I had only really had a good look at the guy with the hat and raincoat, but he was nowhere to be seen. After we had finished our final round of drinks, we all headed to bed. We had various things planned for the rest of the weekend. Evan popped on the television in our room. I made myself a cup of tea. While we roasted in this hot room, lying in our beds, watching a fuzzy television, we just spoke music, school memories, girls, etc. I reminded him to wake up at a certain time tomorrow so we didn't miss out on our complimentary continental breakfast. Eventually, it was lights out and he was fast asleep. I must have drifted to sleep because I found myself opening my eyes to find something. At the side of my bed stood a tall, thin, shadowy figure. A silhouette in the shape of a man. I stared at it in awe before screaming as it moved closer towards me. I lifted my arms up to defend myself. Evan woke up and said, "What the hell?" He then switched on a light near his bed. I looked around the room. The shadowy figure was nowhere to be seen. Evan asked if I was okay. I didn't answer as I noticed what was silently standing in the doorframe of our bathroom. It was a man wearing an old-fashioned fabric coat and a hat similar to one that an odd gentleman wore at reception. His face, despite not being deformed or anything, was grotesque. He had this devilish grin, wide eyes, very pale, white skin. Evan turned his head only to see the strange figure look at him and fade away. Evan looks at me confused and scared, doesn't say a word, just switches off his light, lies back down, turns and closes his eyes. I didn't sleep for the next 3 hours or so. I woke up to an alarm. Immediately walked to the bathroom, telling Evan to get up soon for breakfast. He just grunted back. There was no chance he was making it to breakfast. Got showered, got dressed, headed downstairs to the dining area. I was met with a very cute, polite girl waiting the tables. Behind her were my 4 remaining friends. I explained to the girl I just wanted to sit with the group behind her. She walked me to my table and asked if I wanted some toast. I said yes. My 19-year-old mind immediately assumed she was flirting with me. This thought was then solidified when she brought me extra toast. After some teasing from Richard, I listened in to what David and Sean were talking about. Apparently someone stole a bunch of supplies from the hotel that night. I joked that they must have stolen this shitty continental breakfast because all I could see was toast. We didn't know the details, but after asking around, David found out it was random items that had been stolen, including a bunch of Bibles. For some reason, this reminded me of last night. After eating my toast, I headed back to the hotel room. Opened up the drawer, only to find the Bible still there. I flicked through it again, but noticed a word written on the back page. It simply said "Eyes" in all caps, handwritten with a pencil.
I have so many funny front desk stories as I worked as a receptionist, then 10 years later I managed a hotel. This one goes back to when I was a receptionist in the UK back in the early 2000s. I was on the morning shift starting at 7 o'clock and was doing a handover with the night receptionist when I arrived. This time, however, the poor guy could barely get any words out of his mouth. Complete laughing fit. Me looking at him puzzled at 7 a.m., he decides to show me the security camera footage to see what happened. And there it was, in the middle of the night, one of our guests walking up to the front desk butt naked. As you can imagine, we kept hitting the replay button for a while, until eventually my colleague was able to pull himself together to tell me the full story. Turns out that naked guy had to pee at night, so he got up and went to his bathroom. Shut the bathroom door behind him. In that exact moment, it clicked for him. It was the door to his room, not the bathroom. He had no choice but to ask the night receptionist for help in his birthday suit. When he was checking out later that morning, I had to really turn up my professionalism and avoid asking if everything was okay with his stay. This happened 20 years ago, but still pops into my mind every once in a while.
Hotel shenanigans. No true spooky stories thread. Let's change that. I'll start. Be me several years ago. I'm 24 years old and struggling to get by. Get a job through a friend at a huge hotel and conference center. Basically just have to make sure all the rooms are in order and clean up after the guests leave, as well as set up the conference rooms whenever they have been booked. Job is pretty chill at first, just walking around listening to music while I work. However, after the first couple of shifts, some of the other aspects of the workplace started to make themselves known. It started out small, like hearing someone faintly talk to me and me turning around and pulling out my earbuds to hear what they were saying, only to be met with an empty room. This eventually escalated into things tapping my shoulder, and finally the stories I am about to finally get to. Pick kinda related, but not the same hotel. Story number 1. Get a call from the boss. Asks if I can come in a bit earlier than usual, due to one of my coworkers quitting and refusing to honor the 2 weeks' notice. Sure thing, Mr. Boss, sir, I say like a good little wage cuck. When I arrive, I ask the cutie receptionist why my coworker quit. They didn't say, but they were very agitated when they left. Like, angry, agitated, more like scared. Kinda worrying, but not really my problem. Start where he left off, a single bedroom on the first floor. For some reason, the door was very screwy when I tried to enter. It kinda just kept locking itself when I unlocked it. No, it didn't have an auto lock feature. When I finally managed to outsmart the door, I was hit with a wave of thick air from the room. The air wasn't humid or hot or anything like that, but it kinda felt like inhaling jello. I opened the window and assessed the room. It wasn't too bad, just some towels on the floor and an untidy bed. After fixing up the room, I went to check the bathroom. I had my back turned for maybe 5 seconds, and when I turned back towards the bed, it had been messed with. I blamed the open window and tidied up once more after closing it. I was on my way out of the room when it felt like the towels got snagged on something. Suddenly, the snag turned into a pull, and I watched the damn thing slide across the floor towards the once more untidy bed. My heart was pounding and I was frozen in place for a couple of seconds. Then the door slammed shut. Oh hell no, .wav. Once more I had to fight the lock in order to open the door. All the while the air seemed to be getting thicker and thicker. After a couple of tries it finally relented, and I stumbled out of the room in a panic. My boss was there, staring at me like I was a lunatic. He had come my way to ask me if I could cover some more shifts that month. I tried to explain what had happened, but in between my panicked state being out of breath, it probably sounded something like an asthmatic tard at a spelling bee. Boss is chill, so he humors me and approaches the door. It opens on the first try and he inspects the room. I look like an idiot. He turns to look at me through the doorway. Come on, man, you didn't even... Door slams shut. Panicked door handle rattling ensues. When he eventually gets it open, he stumbles out in the same fashion I had. We are both silent for a minute or so. He is visibly pale and sweating bullets. Yeah, just skip that room. I'll have someone check out the ventilation. The ventilation? Yeah, there's obviously a draft and the air is very stale in there. His statement made no sense, but I didn't feel like arguing. Room was later turned into a kind of storage area because we couldn't get the air problem fixed. Funnily enough, we never use it for storage, so it's just empty. Also, screw that room. Story number 2. Every year around Easter, it's a tradition in my country, not America, and that's as specific as I'll get, for companies to throw a sort of party feast for their employees. It's both expected and encouraged to get absolutely wankered on beer and schnapps during these parties, which makes a hotel the perfect place to have these events, since we can all just spend the night there instead of risking the trip home. At this point, I was in my 2nd year at the hotel. Cutie receptionist and I had been flirting a lot lately, so I was heavily expecting to hook up with her the night of the party. The night started out great, good food and plenty of drink. I sat next to the receptionist and tried my best to put my moves on her. I'm awkward as hell, but she didn't seem to mind. As the night progressed and we both got more and more wasted, the flirting escalated to kissing and cupping a feel. At the end of the night, she told me to go to my room and await her arrival. Decisive victory. Hell yeah. As soon as I got to my room, I phased out of my clothes and got under the covers, brimming with expectation. About half a second went by before my ADHD kicked in, and I decided to pull a prank by turning off the lights so I could pretend to sleep whenever she came. I was drunk. Please don't judge. I lay with my back to the door, with my eyes closed when I heard footsteps approaching. I didn't hear the door open, but it didn't strike me as weird for some reason. I almost started giggling, but I contained my childish excitement. Feel the covers move, and someone lay down next to me. "Ha-ha, gotcha," I exclaim, as I turn and place my hand on what I presume to be her waist. My hand lands on a cold, damp surface that feels like thick leather. What the hell? I turn on the light to see nothing. The bed is empty and the presence is gone too. Immediately, my excitement dies, presumably leaving behind a ghost due to its traumatic and untimely passing. As I'm sitting there, utterly spooked, the door creaks open. The devil's a liar. MP3. It's the receptionist. I'd forgotten to tell her my room number, so she had gone down and looked through the bookings to find me. She can tell that I am skitzing all over the place and asks what's wrong. For some reason, I actually told her. She must have really been into me because she doesn't call me crazy and instead offers to take me to her room instead. I accept her offer, but when the time comes for me to do my job, I am unable to rise to the occasion. We end up just cuddling. MFW, a ghost actually killed my chances. Story number 3. Hotels are creepy at night. A lot of my shifts carry over into night shifts, so that vacant rooms are ready for the next day. There was a particular shift where the hotel was completely empty, except for me. This is highly unusual, and only happened 3 or 4 times while I worked there. The hotel takes on a whole other level of creepiness when it's like this, due to one simple factor. When you know there are guests and you know that at least some of the rooms are booked, it makes sense to hear chattering and movement when you walk through the place. But when you hear chattering and movement around the place, while you know for a fact that there are no guests, that really messes with you. It makes you wonder how many of those sounds you normally hear are actually real people. This particular night, the hotel felt more like an entity than a building. I caught myself tiptoeing multiple times, like I felt as if I were trespassing. I was about 2/3 of the way through my list of rooms when I started noticing something akin to a shadow man stalking me in the hallways. It'd always be in my periphery, in the far end of the hallway, and would quickly disappear around a corner whenever I tried to sneak a peek at it. That fucker made it extra nerve-wracking to enter and exit the rooms, since it would only give it a chance to move in closer, or maybe wait for me on the other side of the door while I did my job. After enduring it for about half an hour, I decided to be a wuss and called my girlfriend. Yes, the receptionist. And no, I don't know how I pulled it off. I explained the situation to her, and she offered to come keep me company. Nah, that's okay. I feel better now, just talking to you. We talked for a little while until she mentioned how pretty the moon was that night. Oh, really? Yeah, it's full and almost like orange. It's a blood moon? I gotta see this. I went over to the room's window and pulled the curtain. To my surprise, it was completely dark outside. I couldn't see anything. Not to be an ass, but are you sure? I don't see anything. That's weird. It's lighting up everything outside. Are you sure your window is facing the right way? It should be. I pulled the handle and tried to open the window so I could poke my head out and get a better look at the sky. But I was met with resistance. What the hell, I muttered as I tried pushing it a little harder. It wouldn't budge. Suddenly a bit of light shone in the top left corner. WTF. Suddenly, in one swift motion, the darkness just sweeps away from the outside of the window, and I am met with a bright night with a full orange moon. The best way I can describe it is as if something huge had been standing on the other side of the window and then moved away after I tried opening it. I was on the second floor. Nope, nope, nope. You got real quiet there. Are you okay? Yeah. I'll be out of here in no time, love you, bye. Finished the rest of the rooms in record time, although very messily and not up to code. Got chewed out because of it the next day. Hauled ass out of there and never told GF what had happened.
The Hotel San Carlos was one of the first hotels built in downtown Phoenix. Construction began in 1927, and as of today, it is still an operating hotel. The movie Psycho actually filmed some of the beginning scenes at this hotel. Several years ago, I was invited to my niece's art show where her works were showcased in what was then called the Ghost Lounge. This bar was located on the hotel's ground floor, and unfortunately has been closed down and closed off to the public now for a while. The hotel was quite popular in its heyday, and many famous Hollywood icons stayed here, including Marilyn Monroe, who always requested a room by the pool so as to avoid the paparazzi who may have been lurking in the hallways. I had heard stories that there were reports of multiple ghosts residing here. This historic hotel is a favorite spot for ghost hunters and paranormal teams who choose to spend the night in a paid room. My understanding is that this is an operating hotel. They don't allow groups to come in and conduct random investigations. However, this may have changed. I arrived in the early evening and enjoyed seeing all the different art displays of young talented people. There was also a fashion show with some incredible designs being modeled. After the festivities, I decided to explore the different floors and took the antique elevator up to different floors. Some of the hotel room doors have plaques displaying the famous people who have stayed there. Displayed on the hallway walls were enlarged sepia photos showcasing various scenes from Phoenix taken a century ago, when the streets were still unpaved. Horses pulled trolleys through the dusty streets. It was fascinating. After some exploring on the various upper floors, I made my way down to the third floor. I started exploring the halls and their treasure of pictures from a bygone era when I started to hear what sounded like big band music. It was very static sounding and came in and out. I attributed it to an old piped-in sound system. It would come in and fade out, then it would make a crackling sound. I thought this was very apropos given the age of the hotel and actually thought to myself, nice touch. I continued down the hallways on the third floor and would intermittently hear this big band music that seemed to be coming from the ceiling, although I didn't see anything that resembled a modern speaker mount. I didn't really think all that much of it and decided to call it a night and head home. I had parked my car in the hotel's valet parking, so I went to the front desk to retrieve it. I happened to mention to the woman sitting there that it was a very nice touch having the big band music piped in on the third floor. She gave me an odd look, slowly started shaking her head, and confessed that there was no music at all piped into the hallways. She said she thought I had an experience. This woman was so afraid of the third floor that she confessed to me that she refused to go up there. It is reported to be the most haunted floor. I left feeling very perplexed. Did I really hear something ghostly? This was, after all, an operating hotel. Was it coming from one of the TVs in the guest rooms and maybe several guests had it on the same channel? What are the chances? After this experience, I did a little research. Apparently, there was a big band director many years ago that used to stay at this hotel when there was a performance at the nearby Orpheum Theater. I'm not sure what to think of this experience. It was interesting, though, that I only heard it on the third floor.
Not gonna green text because this just happened. I'm out of town for 6 days for security work, some Mexican concert or something. Get to the hotel room and meet 2 co-workers I gotta share a room with. They got the night shift tonight, so it's me in this shitty room. Watching Comedy Central on a shitty Zenith TV when it goes out for no reason. The alarm and outlets work, but TV refuses to turn on. I felt something strange right by me for a while as I look into darkness, hoping nothing decides to appear from said darkness. After a while, my coworker calls and informs me that I got the day shift tomorrow. After I hang up, the damn TV turns on and the feeling is gone. I move to my little cot since I'm the shortest guard in the room. I get ready for bed and turn off the TV. Music playing, I slowly drift into sleep when I hear something heavy hit the tub in the bathroom. Oh lordy, not today, .gif. I bolt up and slowly reach for the handgun near my cot. I know it won't help, but it feels better than having empty hands. Pick related, took it as soon as it happened. I hear sleep from the bathroom as a raspy wheeze. I ain't sleeping and I ain't using the bathroom at all. Fuck shitty hotels in the desert.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.